I'm excited to share the next episode of CEO Moments of Truth. We are featuring Aloke Lohia, founder and group CEO of Indorama Ventures, a company that's grown into one of the world's top 30 chemical companies. 2023 was a year that tested even this global powerhouse. In this episode, Aloke shares how he navigated significant industry change and a set of challenges that Indorama had not historically known. Aloke, you founded Indorama, also known as IVL, more than 30 years ago in Thailand. Share with us some of the highlights of that journey.
I was the first employee of my company, so I made a few mistakes. From there is when I developed a few rules. The rule number one was growth of the industry has to be adequate so you can keep growing. The rule number two was that you have to be the most competitive player. The third rule was that it had to be diversified, in the sense it didn't have to be in one country. Just be clear, prices of your products are going to come down, costs are going to go up. What are you going to do about it?
Yes, you better come up with an answer early on and systematically. Well, I'm amazed that you are actually the market leader when it comes to recycling in the PET product space. Where do you stand?
Today, in the West especially, you need to have 30% recycled content in your beverage bottles. And we are one of the few companies who can give that to the brand owners. And not only that, we have our 2030 vision, where we are going to have 25% of our total portfolio made from bio-based or recycled content.
And you continue to pioneer when it comes to recycling. You are also now delivering products from recycled PET for the textiles and fashion industry. Share a bit more about that.
A beverage container is $1. It's always been $1 in the US. It hardly moves away from that. So all the cost competitiveness has come from scale, from millions to billions to trillions of bottles. But in fashion, you add a lot more value. And therefore, there is a much more affordability for recycled content.
Alok, in your recent letter to stakeholders, you state that you believe that at some point you're going to look back to 2024 and it will be seen as a pivotal year in the history of Indorama. On the one hand, because you started to see the tea leaves. On the other hand, because you took control of your own future. What were the tea leaves?
You know, there's always a curse of being a successful company. 30 years of success. We had a fantastic 2022. All our factories were humming. Our business model of being a local in every major market means our goods were reaching our clients. So everyone was happy. Margins were good. I felt that this was unreal. This is not going to last. I could not get my team to fully align to that. They said it was fine and nothing is going to change and there's going to be slight modifications, but we're in a good space. I had to talk to them and say that what is changing, what is cyclical, and what is structural. The cyclical stuff, I fully agree, we can live with that. But the big change that is coming from the outside is electrification. And our raw material is all linked to the crude oil as an input. There were no new refineries getting built in the West. For the last 20 years, while we were in Asia, Europe, and the US, relatively the price of raw materials were about the same. It started changing in 2022. That was a structural change. That was what I meant by in the letter, that we read the leaves. The moment of truth for me was that all that capacity that we had in Europe and in the US and Canada, not all of that was the most cost competitive. And we were running not all those sites fully utilized. And therefore, we started making some playbooks.
Now, what was that like for you? You had a model that was very successful over decades, and now you realize, well, we have to change that model. How did your team take that?
Christoph, I think that was a sweet and sour moment, making that pivot, closing down, 10% of the capacity. I think that was also my moment of humility, that not everything is within your control. It's never easy to shut down 10 plants. you have an emotional attachment with those people, with the site heads, with the leadership of those sites. I think our teams, in a very sensitive way, made a very smooth exit from those sites. We reduced our cost by about $200 million. So it just improved the quality of earning. It did not impact our customer deliveries. It improved our operating rates. So all in all, by hindsight, today, a year and a half down the line, I think we all agree that it was a decision that was required. My worry at that time, Christoph, was that we have been a successful company, we've been growing. This was degrowth. And what is the message to the market? Are we admitting to the market that we made some mistakes? Are we saying that we don't have a cost-competitive business model? What will our lenders think? We are quite a leveraged company. But I went with my gut feeling that the right move is the right move, and our stakeholders will appreciate it. And all in all, this is going to help us to come back to our peak earnings, because our peak earnings were in 2022. The market for the first 3 months did not understand it.
And it showed.
Our share price went down
Yes.
quite dramatically. And once we continued to explain to the markets with actions, I think our share price has recovered more or less to where it was. Our most important stakeholders who we rely on told me that we would have been disappointed, Alok, if you would not have come clean and admitted the issues that your industry is facing and what actions you were taking.
At BCG, we often say one of the hardest jobs in leadership is to turn around a successful company. Indorama was exactly that, over decades, one of the most impressive value creation stories and market share gain stories. What is your advice to leaders who find themselves in a similar situation and realize, okay, now it's time for bold action?
Christoph, that's very difficult for me to say for others. We were a growth company, we are a growth company, and we will be a growth company. It's just that the growth tomorrow is going to come from based on the mega trends, based on the ecosystem, based on ground realities. At IVL, we have built certain businesses. We have expertise, we have operating knowledge, know-how. And all of these are valuable to other parties. So we are looking at just not only growing by ourselves, but growing in partnership with like-minded people.
It's wonderful to hear about Indorama, about the moment of truth that you went through, about the big changes that you initiated that are now starting to pay off. Thank you so much for your insights, and thank you also for your time.
Thank you, Christoph, for having me. Thank you.